You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey, Bold fans. Well, we got a huge shocker about Zende Forrester and Luna Nozawa's night in his bed. But the problem is, this is all a giant rewrite that they did after the fact. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and we're going to talk about the clear signs that the B&B writers pivoted out of nowhere into something intriguing, but also very sloppy that contradicts itself. And many fans are really annoyed, and I am right there with you guys. So a lot of viewers were thrilled when Luna confessed to Steffy on Monday's episode that she faked the drugging incident that had her in Zende's bed for what was originally written as a non-consensual night of passion. From the moment it happened, though, Luna being in his bed sparked a lot of fan debate. For one, Zende thought she was ready and willing, and that's why she was in his bed. And for anyone that thought he was awful for betting RJ's girl, I mean, hello, it's a soap opera. Half the storylines are infidelity on most soaps. But even if the Zende Luna thing stayed as it was, you know, you could make a case that Zende had no idea she was drugged. But now Luna has told Steffy that she faked being drugged and her night in Zende's bed was the best sex of her life, and she set it all up. What was pretty funny is that should have made it clear to Steffy that Luna thinks her brother RJ is a big old dud in the bedroom. With this rewrite, I also am back to my assumption, and I've said it here before, that Luna was not some innocent virgin when she slept with RJ. I think that was just part of her lies to reel him in, and, you know, he could have fallen for it. Plenty of guys have fallen for a lie like that. The thing is, what Luna's saying does not jive at all with what we saw on screen when she spent that night with Zende. So at the party, we saw Luna popping those mints that she took from Poppy, and yet she told Steffy she was totally in her right mind. But if you remember, we saw through the cameras, they were showing Luna's perspective through her eyes, what she was seeing, and things were all blurry and wonky because she was drugged. All right. That is not what we would have seen, what we would have been shown if Luna had been stone cold sober. And if you remember, while she and Zende were doing the deed, she was seeing RJ on top of her when it was really Zende. So it's very clear that B&B has totally rewritten this scenario after the fact to make Luna look worse. Either that or it was the worst filming of anything I've ever seen because it amounts to a lie. Showing us a false narrative of her hallucinating RJ while banging Zende? No, that would actually even make less sense than this rewrite does. Brad Bell, you know, he seems to go one way and then rethinks it or sees ratings or fan reactions or just gets a wild hair up his backside and then he pivots somewhere ridiculous. This is not the first time. You know, he pivoted and created that judge friend for Deacon to do this Hail Mary to get Sheila out of prison because he decided he wanted to keep Kimberlyn Brown after he had painted her character into this inescapable corner. So rewriting Zende and Luna's night of accidental passion as her targeting Zende is just nonsense. If they intended it to be a trick that would allow RJ's girl to hop in bed with his cousin, they would have filmed it very differently. They could have shown Luna pretending to be loopy when somebody was looking, but not with that perspective we saw looking through her eyes. Instead, Luna was acting totally out of it that night, even when no one was around to see her. Remember, she was staggering like outside when nobody was around and staggering around Zende's room. That theater was not for nothing. This is a sloppy rewrite. That's how we know this thing with Luna and Zende is just them reshuffling events to try and justify the latest twist that they have come up with that they seem to have pulled out of their backsides. And I have seen a lot of people saying that they're glad that Zende was vindicated because a lot of people were saying he raped her. I never thought that terminology was accurate because yes, he was sleeping with his cousin's girl, but that's, again, back to what everybody else on that show has done. He just wasn't aware that she was intoxicated. So I am happy that Zende's vindicated, but I'm also with those fans that are angry at the sloppy rewrite. And yeah, it is a lot of fun to see Luna being bad, but it's wildly inconsistent with everything they've written up until recent weeks. And that's not the only rewrite in this storyline that Brad Bell has bungled. You know, I believe that he only decided to make Luna a villain after he cast Clint Howard as Tom Starr, because when you look back at episodes over the past couple of months, those red flags that Luna was plotting only started very recently. To be honest, I'm not even confident that Brad Bell had decided on who was going to be the killer by the time he wrote Tom's murder. I literally think Brad Bell cooked this up on the fly, like I said, around the time he hired Clint Howard. Luna's pivot to evil was so surprising because they had created this character to be a nice girl falling for RJ with no intention of making her a killer. Now, you know, Luna has killed 2 men. She's hoping to kill Steffy, but the jig is up by the end of this week. Recent spoilers photos have Finn showing up to Luna and Poppy's old apartment. He sees Steffy in the cage. He's so relieved to have found her. Part of the reason I suspect this was a very late in the story rewrite is because of the red herrings. They had Ted King come back as Jack Finnegan. They had Aaron D. Spears come back as Justin Barber, had them both there the night of Tom's murder, along with Lee, who is never there and who hates live music apparently. So I don't know if at that point that Brad Bell hadn't decided and just threw all of these perps to consider to see what fans thought. I don't know. But Brad Bell also, if you remember, had all the ducks in the row set up for Finn to turn out to be Luna's bio dad, and then they scrapped that. And there was serious groundwork laid. You guys remember Poppy was lurking and making moon eyes at her nephew Finn when he was alone in the design office on the phone. And then he brought up about Poppy living with them when he was in college as an adult and how she was so good at relaxing him. You know, maybe it was all the negative fan reaction around Finn being Luna's daddy that made Brad Bell pivot and create this Tom Starr thing. And then the debate over Bill Spencer as her dad or not. It just, to me, feels like there was a dartboard in the writer's room with a wheel of perpetrators, and that dart landed on Luna. On the plus side, that means that we shouldn't have to deal with Luna for much longer at B&B. I'm also personally hoping this means we're going to see a little less of RJ after she's exited. Poppy, she can go too, for that matter. Brad Bell brought in this family and then ruined them. That's got a lot of people up in arms because he doesn't always write the best way for minority characters. I'm not going to get into it, but you guys know, y'all watch the show. On the plus side, with Zende's name cleared because the rewrite made Luna a sociopath, maybe they will finally start using Zende more. Maybe he'll get an actual storyline of his own. And yes, I absolutely think that this rewrite with Luna as the killer is a lot of fun. If you take it at face value and don't use your brain and think about all the ways that it is improbable and inconsistent with what we have been shown on the soap. So the good news, it's all over late this week, early next week. And then honestly, I never want to hear about Nozawa Pawa again because she's awful. Her mother's awful. This rewrite is dodgy at best. And I really hope Brad Bell heads over to the local community college there in LA and takes Writing for TV 101. Maybe we can all get a GoFundMe going to cover the $350 it'll take for him to sit for the class because it is so danged sloppy. I wish he would think things through before he starts writing a storyline, not midstream, or in this case, when it's like 80% done and then he pivots. So what do you guys think? Does the fact it's an obvious rewrite and undoing of a lot of recent history bother you, or are you just going with the flow and just ready to see Luna either shoved into jail or into a mental institution and just call it quits? Drop your comments on whether this storyline is frustrating you. Please subscribe if you're not already following us, and please come back soon. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and I'm here talking Bold and the Beautiful with you 7 days a week.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.